The Donovan Mitchell trade was the biggest news of the offseason. Actually, Kevin Durant requesting a trade was probably the biggest news, but definitely the biggest transaction by far. So now that we're a couple days removed from it, I have what I think is a good analysis of it and the Cavs' position in the Eastern Conference in the present and in the future. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to look at the trade itself, very briefly. It was a W on the Cavs' behalf. The only opportunities that they'll have of adding a player of the tier of Donovan Mitchell is through the draft or via trade, because the Cavs are a small market team. They're never going to be a free agent destination. No star of the tier of Donovan Mitchell is going to choose to go to Cleveland. That's just how it goes, even if they overpay. So the Cavs had to strike while the iron was hot. They traded away Colin Sexton, who wasn't even a part of last year's team. Lauri Markkanen was good, but I don't think he was ever certified as a long-term fit. And they gave up a lot of picks, yeah, but I'm confident, and obviously the Cavs front office is confident, of the fact that the days of being lottery bound are in the past for the Cavs. So this is a W trade on the Cavs' behalf, undoubtedly. Now looking at the positives that this trade provides, the Cavs needed a Mitchell tier scorer. It was evident as the season went on and evident in the play-in tournament. Garland was tremendous and his improvement in offense generation was monumental. But after that, the Cavs were kind of thin in the realm of creation. Mobley had a fantastic rookie year, but he wasn't a go-to creator yet. And he definitely wasn't ready for, being the second go-to guy in the offense. Jared Allen's offense comes in the pick and roll and with putbacks. As efficient as he is, he's just not a creator. He's not going to really create in the low post like that. And Karras, he could create his own offense, but ideally he does that in the role off the bench as the sixth man. So actually, this is where the Cavs could have used Sexton last year as somebody who was a pure bucket that could create offense when Garland needed a breather or was on the bench. But now they have Spida, who's obviously a better scorer than Colin. Last year, the Cavs' defense was elite, and it was their offense that kind of lagged behind, which kind of saw them slide in the standings. That along with injuries, but their offense was what was holding them back. And now adding Mitchell, who's one of the best scorers in the league, that can only help them. Last year, both Donovan and Garland had very high burdens in terms of generating offense. Now, playing off of each other, that can allow both of them to take breathers on the offensive end, enabling some off-ball action for the both of them. They're both great shooters. I know Donovan's percentage from three kind of fell, but a lot of his three-pointers were him just trying to create on the ball, so that's obviously a harder three-point shot to take than catch and shoots that can be generated for you. So that was going to hold back his efficiency. So if he can have a role off the ball in floppy type of action, pin downs and whatnot, that's going to showcase how good of a three-point shooter he is. And also, I think this might be even more important. Now both of them can have more energy to expend on the defensive end, with both of their offensive burden being lessened. Mitchell can be a great defender, I believe, because he has the physical tools. Even though he's only 6'2", his wingspan is ridiculous and he's really athletic. He was a really good defender within his first 3 seasons in Utah, but then from that point he kind of fell off. I think while the offensive burden was really high, but I think he can showcase how good of a defender he is with more energy on the defensive end. Also, this trade makes the perimeter off the bench very talented, because I'm pretty sure the Cavs are going to have Okoro start at the 3 position instead of LeVert, because there's more of a need for Okoro's defensive upside than LeVert's creation on the offensive end, and LeVert can fit in as the 6th man a lot better. But not even just LeVert, they have Rubio. He's coming back. He's one of the best backup point guards in the entire league, one of the best passers in the entire league. I talked about LeVert. Honestly, he can be in 6th man of the year conversations this upcoming season. Cedi Osman is a really good shooter. He's a high IQ passer as well, and he competes his ass off on the defensive end. Very opportunistic cutter off the ball as well. And then not just talking about the perimeter, they still have Kevin Love, who was a 6th man of the year candidate last year. He can space the floor and he can create in the post for himself from time to time, but more often at this point of his career, he creates for others from the elbow. And also what this trade means for Evan Mobley, he's going to have the opportunity to be even more efficient. Now he is the certified 3rd option and he won't be hurried to rush his offensive development, so he can really improve his skill set at his own pace. on the offensive end. With more eyes in the backcourt, I expect a great year from him. I expect him to be a bit more efficient from three-point land because there will be more quality looks created for him out there. He's got another high-level pick-and-roll partner with Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt along with Garland. Yeah, Evan should be able to thrive, honestly. Now moving to potential areas of concern, I will say defensively, just because this backcourt is really small. Like Donovan's 6'2", I think Garland is 6'1", and we know how like small backcourts have performed over the past like 5 or 6 years. The Dame CJ1 defensively, they were always bad. Besides that one year when Portland was able to surround them with lengthy forwards and wings and stuff, which is kind of what the Cavs have. But even so, not just in the backcourt, but on the perimeter as a whole, even with Isaac Okoro having defensive upside, he's small too. I believe he's only 6'4". So that's something to pay attention to. The Cavs are really going to be banking on their elite defensive bigs to carry their defense. Jared Allen's a high-level rim protecting enforcer, and Evan Mobley can rim protect. He can switch all around the floor and fly around the floor with his speed and length. So they're going to be relying on them and Isaac Okoro to develop on the defensive end, but mainly Mobley and Allen to carry their defense. But yeah, like I said, I think Mitchell being able to improve his defensive impact is going to be essential, and I don't think there's going to be a big problem defensively, but I just had to, throw that out there. And then a second problem, these aren't even real problems, these are just hypothetical. I just hope Donovan can defer easily, because his whole career he hasn't been asked to defer to anyone offensively. From his first year in Utah, it was obvious that he was going to be the guy once he showed out and once he got the starting role. He was given the offense, and that was his role, and that was what he was used to for 5 years. It's going to be a little bit of an adjustment having to defer a little bit to Garland. I hope he doesn't just walk into Cleveland and hijack the offense. I don't think that will happen, but I'm just saying. Like him making Garland play more off ball than he should, that would be a little bit problematic. There needs to be a little bit of a push and pull between the two. Garland can play more off ball. He's going to have to. He's going to have to adjust to Mitchell because he is a somewhat of a ball dominant player. And Garland can really space the floor, and he can thrive in more of an off ball role. Slightly more of an off ball role. I say slightly because Garland is the obvious point guard here. Mitchell's not a point, he's a 2. So Mitchell needs to embrace more of an off-ball role as well, so that Garland can still operate to his best strengths. So in the immediate future, talking about this year, this trade solidifies the Cavs in the playoff picture, in my opinion. They should be at the very least a 6th seed in the East. They're probably going to be behind the likes of Milwaukee, Miami, Boston. You can argue Philly, but honestly I have the Cavs above Brooklyn, so they should definitely be at the very least a 6th seed, but they will probably be 5th or 4th. That's the impact that the Donovan trade makes. It makes the Cavs one of the best backcourts in the league. Mobley and Allen, that duo is one of the best front courts, especially one of the best defensive front courts. Are they the best defensive front court in the league? Actually, Giannis and Brook Lopez, they're a better defensive front court, but they're definitely in the short list. And then the bench, I talked about Rubio, LeVert, Osman, and Love. That's got to be one of the best bench quartets in the league. But if the Cavs want to go far in the playoffs in the future and become an Eastern Conference powerhouse, then Donovan isn't the X factor here, it's Evan Mobley. He already has the tools to become a perennial Defensive Player of the Year candidate, but what's going to determine the Cavs' ceiling is his own offensive development. He's already shown a great ability to play in the pick and roll, get putbacks, really just fit in the flow of the offense and be efficient there. But what's going to improve his skill set and offensive ceiling is becoming a more consistent three-point shooter, continuing to use his speed to beat slow-footed 7-footers off the dribble from the perimeter, and he's shown great feel for elbow scoring with face-ups and fadeaways, but can he establish consistency with that scoring as his volume increases every year? So yeah, he's already displayed all the tools defensively, but the amount of responsibility he can take on the offensive end, that's going to determine his ceiling and determine how far this Cavs core can go in the future. The Mitchell trade was the biggest move in the offseason, and it was a very savvy and opportune transaction by Kobe Altman and the Cavs front office. Cleveland will never be a free agency destination, so if a small market team is in the position to become a playoff team, if they have draft picks and a talented young budding star who's expendable, and there's a star on the trading block for the taking, that team has to pull the trigger on a trade. This was the position the Cavs were in, and they acted accordingly. The Mitchell addition makes Cleveland a playoff team this upcoming season. He forms a very dynamic backcourt with first-time All-Star Darius Garland. There's a big man tandem already in place with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, both lengthy and mobile options in the pick and roll and dunker spot, with Mobley displaying a lot of offensive creation upside, and they're both tremendous performers on the defensive end. Off the bench, Cleveland has Rubio, one of the best passers in the entire league, LeVert, a wing that can create his own and create for others. He should be in the 6th Man of the Year discussion. Osman, a wing that can space the floor, slash to the basket, and has a high IQ as a passer and competes hard on the defensive end. And Kevin Love, a stretch 4 that can operate in the post as a high-level playmaker. This is definitely a playoff team, but if the Cavs want to become championship contenders, it'll rely on the development of Evan Mobley on the offensive end. Regardless of how successful you think the Cavs will be, this team will be extremely fun to watch.